When I was 14, I put aside my body pillow and my collection of Kim Possible Futanari bootlegs in order to focus my efforts on something real. A video game. That video game being Fallout New Vegas. Now, I'd played RPGs before, but I'd never played a game that gave me the sense that I could be who I wanted to be, do what I wanted to do, and in whatever way I saw fit. It was fantastic. The dialogue felt like it did something, and if I didn't feel like talking, I could blow the head off of any cunt that felt like stopping me from dismantling their crime family. It has been 7 years, and I finally feel like I've found another game that makes me want to both make violent sex to and murder most of the characters. And not necessarily in that order. Divinity 2 is actually relatively new, so by my channel standards it's hot off the press. I've been playing this game with two of my friends and a local boy with severe learning disabilities, and right off the bat this game did things right. Your whole backstory is entirely up to you thanks to the Todd Howard style prison ship opening. It's up to you to fill in the gaps. Are you an Irish lesbian with a trusty yet horrific spider companion? Are you a child pornographer with the ability to speak to animals? Or maybe you're a generic guy with a sword? The world is your boring oyster. In my opinion, any game that went through the effort to record dialogue for every animal in the game on the off chance that one of your party members takes a single obscure perk gets a well done sticker from me. And that's one of the things I really loved about Divinity 2, the attention to detail in every single aspect of the game. Every ability has a unique interaction, every NPC has something to say, even the fucking chickens. You could play this game with 1,000 builds 1,000 times each, and yes, you'd be a sad, greasy, sweaty nerd, but you'd also still not be finished with this game. It's unfinishable, it's the Cuphead of RPGs. But yeah, no one cares about writing. What is this, a video game? So how does it play? Pretty good. The combat is turn-based, and I know we can all agree that turn-based games are the superior high-intellect Rick and Morty of video games. And hell, you can stack things together and really pull off some great wombo combos with this system, most of which involve fire, because there is always fucking fire on the ground. It doesn't matter who you're fighting, you could be fighting the Queen of Ice, fire extinguishers and fire safety DVDs, and shit, you know that bitch will probably breathe fire. Always fire. In classic RPG fashion, all the races have unique abilities and other passive racial traits. Oh, and of course dialogue options, and of course your race affects what other people think of you, just like in real life. The game is however strangely balanced. A dungeon can start with fights that are pretty easy, but end up with fights that are unbeatable until you come back at a higher level. And not in a reasonable, hey, get good scrub kind of way. It's more of a, this boss will one-hit you even though you had no problem so far kind of way. The game seems to have these sharp difficulty spikes rather than a slow build of difficulty from room A to room D. And this forces you to do pretty much every side quest you can find, which is of course a double-edged sword. You have to grind these quests, but they're also charming and fun. It's like being punished for peeking in the girls' locker room by being forced to have sex with all the cheerleaders. Like, yeah, it's sort of a punishment, but you sort of wanted to do it anyway. And this quest structure makes the main questline feel like Proxy Page's infinite bumhole. Speaking of loose, let's talk about a few problems I have with the rule consistency. You see, there are a lot of rules that apply to you but don't apply to enemies. For example, an undead player can bleed, but an enemy undead cannot. And don't get me started on action points. You can only ever have a maximum of 6 action points, but with enemies there doesn't seem to be a limit. This fucking guy can move for 3 AP, then attack 3 times, like it's no one's fucking business. I feel like this was done to give the AI a handicap, but it doesn't really need it since this is some of the best AI I've seen in a turn-based game. This fucking Skynet looking ass kicked my ass loads of times with the smart boy ideas. It does however force you to get creative, teleporting characters around to group them into one big group to give them the patented razzle-dazzle letter bomb explosion. Speaking of combat problems though, I have some criticisms about the armor system. At the end of the day, Divinity 2 is a game that has depth, good combat, good writing, and reasonably large breasts, and for only 30 quid it's not like I can tell you to not buy it. 9 out of 10 res scrolls.
You guys have no Szechuan sauce? No. I want Szechuan sauce! Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Pickle Rick! Rick! I'm Pickle Rick!